So I am 100% tired. It's been a very fun couple months, but that doesn't mean I don't have updates for you guys. I've been working on my doctoral thesis, which is all about comics, so all fun. And I passed my initial assessment interview. I presented to the higher-ups and my superiors at the university, and that seemed to go pretty well. I'm very aware that most people watching in the audience live are not comic fans. They don't enjoy comics, so that was a bit stressful. If you want to see that talk, it's over on the University of Hertfordshire page. I will link it in the description. But yeah, it means that everything I've been doing has been related to my doctorate. And any time I've had quote-unquote free has been spent teaching or preparing lecture stuff. But I have managed to read a few things lately. I am very much enjoying death metal. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy it, mostly because I originally was going to have to study Dark Knight's metal, so I thought I would be really sick of it. But then we changed Dark Knight's metal to Final Crisis, so I got to distance myself from it a bit, and when I picked up death metal, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought. I mean, I know it's not finished yet, we've only got 4 core issues out, and then a bunch of tie-ins. The tie-ins I'm surprisingly enjoying. It's not often I pick up tie-ins to these kind of events. In fact, it's not often I pick up events, outside of picking up a trade collection. But I am honestly surprised with how much I'm enjoying it. And to be honest, I think it's because it's the anti-crisis. Being someone who studies crisis events, I'm honestly not surprised that I like the anti-crisis. I nearly said the Antichrist, just thinking of the Omen. But I'm really enjoying the fact that they're thinking about the multiverse as a whole, and this idea of drawing energy from the crisis events because people remember the crisis events. And that's very true, because it seems that we always want to go back to these crisis moments. Crisis on Infinite Earths has been referenced God knows how many times. Flashpoint was obviously the catalyst for the New 52, even though it was never meant to be a crisis event. But there's a lot of moments in death metal I'm really enjoying. I really like Swamp Thing's depiction in the first issue. I love that they're sort of showing his disconnect to the Green, because obviously the world's been taken over, and he appears as almost this flaming skeletal figure, and I thought that was such a striking image. I do think it's kind of, for lack of a better word, dumb that they had a Bruce Wayne version of Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, it feels like they only did that because Doomsday Clock came out, and now they can use, the Watchmen characters a bit more in the universe, because, hey, we've already done Doomsday Clock, why not? Which I did enjoy Doomsday Clock, but it's still kind of weird. I think it was just more weird to see Dr. Manhattan with hair, to be honest. I did enjoy the idea of essentially killing the Batman Who Laughs in the first issue. Only problem is they brought him back. I think they're using him way too much. But then I also get the feeling with the amount of evil Bat characters within this story, it's almost them going, yeah, we get it. You guys are making fun of, every villain is a Batman character, so we're just literally throwing everything at you. There's a Batman version of the Atom in the beginning of the second issue, and he's, killed within a page. In fact, it's the opening page. It's brilliant. What else have I been reading? I read the first 2 volumes of Peter Tomasi's Detective Comics run. Those 2 arcs are Mythology, which was the lead up to Detective Comics 1000, and the Arkham Knight arc. If you keep hearing a squeaking, it's the desk. It's not properly put together. But I was pleasantly surprised by both of them. Most notably Mythology. It sets out this arc where it's a very personal attack on Bruce Wayne, and this thing is taking the form of all of his greatest enemies, And I thought that was very interesting, and it's attacking basically the people who created the Batman, all of Bruce's former teachers. And it's kicked off by 2 corpses being found in an aquarium that exactly match Thomas and Martha Wayne. Which was a very striking image, because through the dialogue, and I love when Tomasi does this, you can feel Bruce's hesitation. Like, there's a number of times where he tries to say my, and he switches it to Martha, because he can't obviously say my parents to the officers there. I mean, Jim Gordon's there, and at some point, you just gotta buy that Jim knows exactly what's going on. He's not dumb. But the rest of the officers don't. And it sort of just builds, like, a number of people that Bruce really cares about end up really getting hurt. But by the end of the arc, there's this really brilliant twist that almost acknowledges the long history of Batman. And it's very well done. And I love that they brought Damian sort of back in, even if it's only for, like, minor stuff. Because I really love the Bruce-Damian dynamic. The only problem is that every time a new writer takes over, they almost dial Damian back to how he was when Morrison originally introduced him. However, Tomasi, along with Gleason, also wrote the Batman and Robin series in the New 52, which was hands down the best thing to come out of the New 52. And their relationship, their dynamic, was at the forefront in that book. In fact, I would have been very interested to see what happened had Morrison not killed Damian in Batman Incorporated. It would have been interesting to see what their plan was going forward if that hadn't have happened. But at the same time, the fact that that happened meant that the Batman and Robin run could focus on Bruce losing family again. And just how heavily that affected him. And it's absolutely fascinating to sit and read. I have the omnibus and I absolutely love it. And I do heavily recommend anyone who wanted to pick it up. And I love the fact that that team then went on to do the Rebirth Superman run with Clark and John and Lois. And it was sort of the same thing there, that whole family dynamic and what it actually means to be a superhero and passing on the torch. Seriously, I love them as a team. I really want to read their Green Lantern run, or Tomasi's work on Green Lantern anyway. Only problem is that DC don't really collect it very well, so it's trying to get my hands on all of it. But yes, the first arc, Mythologies, is absolutely amazing. The second arc is not as good, but it's still really interesting. It's the reintroduction of the Arkham Knight, and I say the reintroduction because the Arkham Knight first appeared in the video game, like Batman Arkham Knight. But in that, it was Jason Todd. It was basically him coming back and sort of swearing vengeance against Batman for not coming to get him and just replacing him. Obviously, in the comics, Jason Todd became the Red Hood. So, who the hell is going to be the Arkham Knight here? And I like what they did with it, because they actually tied it to Arkham Asylum. They didn't just tie it into the name branding like before. It is someone who is actually connected to the Arkham family, and her reasoning for things is, yeah, it's a her, which was pretty cool. I say pretty cool, I didn't see that coming. But her reasoning for hating Batman was a little forced, but still also interesting. And I do wonder how different she'd have turned out if her father had told her the truth. I'm sort of trying to dance around the actual truth about the whole thing, because I do think it should be read. It's very interesting, and it did give me an appreciation for the Arkham Knight, because I didn't really like the Arkham Knight video game. I loved the design of the Arkham Knight. I thought his suit was amazing. But there was just stuff in that game I just didn't enjoy. Especially the driving sequences. I don't want to play a driving game. Well, I like kart races, but I didn't want to play this, and the graphics got on my nerves. Like, I get trying to go for realism, but this was just ridiculous. And there are moments where I just really didn't like it. I think City was the best one they did, and even then, I might probably just be thinking of City because it was the last one I fully played. I do have fond memories of Asylum, although you're mostly in detective mode that whole game. But yes, the Arkham Knight in the comics is very interesting, and her actual plan is brilliant when you consider what Batman was inspired by. And I'm honestly surprised that I couldn't immediately think of another villain who tried that. There probably is, especially going back to the Silver Age. But it was this idea of, okay, what is a bat's biggest weakness? When do we never see a bat? Since, like, in the day. I'm sure someone has tried it, and I'm surprised. I think the closest I could think of was the Court of Owls. And that was in the middle of their torture. They just started shining, like, these really bright lights on him. And that was sort of interesting, but that was the closest I could think of. What else have I read? Flash Forward. Flash Forward I was surprisingly invested in as I was reading it. I didn't particularly care about it when it came out. I think I bought the first 2 issues and then didn't really read them. They were just on the stack. But because I was originally going to do Dark Knight's Metal as part of my doctorate, I thought, okay, I need to sort of read some of the stuff that came out of that. And then when Death Metal was coming out, I thought, okay, I definitely need to read the stuff that goes into that. So I ended up reading Flash Forward. And I have no real personal connection with Wally West. The closest connection I can think of is him being the core Flash in the Justice League cartoons when I was a kid. But even then, I wasn't a big Flash fan. It's like, what's he gonna do, run fast? But I don't know, the Joshua Williamson run, I read the first deluxe volume of that, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. I read that like 2 years ago, back when it came out. And I now have like all 3 deluxe volumes of it, which I know is not the complete run, but it's the 3 they printed. And I need to sit and read the whole thing, and now that Joshua Williamson has actually ended his run, I might just buy the trades for the ones I'm missing and read the whole thing in sort of one stretch. But it means that I only have like a tentative knowledge of Wally West. I know that pre-Flashpoint he was the Flash for a while before Barry Allen came back. He was married to Linda Park, who was a journalist, and they had twins, Jai and Iris, who I kind of liked. I read them in some Final Crisis tie-ins, which I kind of liked them. Especially this whole idea that they, like, rapidly aged. And when I read the DC Universe Rebirth one-shot that came out in 2016, obviously Wally West is, like, a big part of that. He's kind of the catalyst for people remembering the past. Which, again, I thought was interesting, and that book actually made me care about Wally without me knowing much about him. So I know that he sort of has this problem of he had kids, he was a father, but now those kids don't exist, and it's not like they died, like they have literally never existed. He's the only one who remembers them. The woman he loves barely knows who he is. Stuff like that, and I do sympathize with that. So when I was reading Flash Forward, firstly, I was enjoying it because it was Wally basically going through the multiverse, and I'm a huge sucker for the multiverse stuff. But then you had this underlying core of him atoning for his sins in Heroes in Crisis, which, again, I actually liked. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I genuinely liked Heroes in Crisis. But there was this whole thing of the chance to see his children again. And I really just enjoyed this book, and the sacrifice he makes at the end, which leads into Death Metal. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I think people do need to read that one. It's really damn good. Even if you're not like a Wally West Flash fan, it was good. And it made me want to go read some of the Wally West stuff. I think I have some of it in a trade paperback with, like, oh, who wrote it? It's some, like, Grant Morrison and Mark Miller Flash stuff. Like, post-Crisis, but before Barry Allen came back, so it must be Wally West. I need to read that. But it's like, it got me interested in wanting to check out The Flash. It was my birthday last week, so I got some new books to read. My sister and brother-in-law gave me Wonder Woman by John Byrne, Volume 1, which I'm very much looking forward to getting into, because the first story has, like, Darkseid, and I'm a sucker for Darkseid stories. What else? My family up north sent me the last book I actually needed for my case study, which was The Crisis on Infinite Earth Companion Volume 3. So that's just stuff that ties into Crisis on Infinite Earth, but it also has, like, the first appearance of Superboy Prime, which you all know I absolutely love Superboy Prime, because I think he's a really interesting character. And that's the cat. You will hear him for a few seconds. Yeah, he's noisy. He wants more food even though he's been fed. With some money I had myself, I bought some, like, Sandman universe stuff, which I really need to get into. I really need to sit and properly read Sandman. I've tried reading Sandman a couple times, but the first chapter never really grips me. And I've heard that from a couple people, which kind of gives me hope. But I'm going to fight my way through and hopefully read more of it. What else did I get? I got a Batman collection by Jim Aparo, Volume 3, just because the comic shop I had gone into. It was COVID safe, socially distancing, was the only customer in the store. They had the copy for a lot less than it was supposed to be, which is saying something, because it's rather an expensive comic shop, but the only problem is it's the only close one to me. So I got that. I got Teen Titans Full Throttle, just because I quite liked the Teen Titans stuff that was coming out in Rebirth, and I hadn't read any of the stuff post Dark Knight's Metal. What else did I get? I got the first volume of Catwoman, which was more like an impulse buy, but when it's your birthday, I think you're allowed to impulse buy. There's a couple of things I have my eye on that I'm probably going to get on payday, like Chris of the White Knight hardcover, because I thought I had all the issues and I was going to do a read-through, and then I realised that I have all of them, plus the Von Fries tie-in, except for issue 4, which kind of annoys me now, because I sat down to do a full read-through and I was like, where the hell is issue 4? Why do I have 2 copies of the last issue, both variant covers, but I don't have a copy of issue 4, which kind of annoyed me, and now it's just the point where I go, so I'll get the hardcover to go with my other hardcover. So yeah, that was what I've been reading. I'm hoping some people will check out the talk in the link. I was terrified giving it, but it meant a lot to me. And it'll probably give you guys an idea of what I've been up to. So what have you all been reading? Let me know down below. Bye!